Welcome back to the Rock Philosophy. Part 4. Rock 5. As he sailed through the air towards the water, his thoughts were in turmoil. One moment he was safe in the protection of God, enjoying the protection of the shade, the comfort of being a part of something greater, and now here he was looking down, seeing his shadow race across the sand underneath, then over the water. Strange, he thought, it was starting to look bigger. That is, until he fell through his shadow into the water. Now his hope that this was a bad dream disappeared as the water passed over him on his way to the bottom. Small fish seemed to miraculously swim out in an expanding circle as he fell through them. The water he could see now was a greenish blue colour when the sun shone on it. All too soon he came to rest on the sandy bottom. If Rock 5 could have cried, he would have been in tears. His whole world, everything he knew to be true, turned out to be false. He wasn't aware of any other rocks nearby. All he could do was try to steady himself. Yet he could not help but be angry. His important position in life had disappeared without warning, gone. Those other rocks on the beach who did not believe in his God were still there, except of course for the other little rock which had been swept away. It just did not make any sense. How could this have happened to him? He had done nothing wrong in his life. Rock 5 could feel some gentle nudging coming from underneath as a small crab burrowed underneath him. A shoal of fish swam above him, their shadows rushing across the seabed. As the crab made himself comfortable, Rock 5 could see another small crab moving across the sandy bed towards him. He couldn't understand how crabs spoke to each other. However, there was no doubt the crab which had settled under him was preparing to defend his territory as the approaching crab drew near. Rock 5's crab scuttled out and locked into battle with Interloper. Why is this happening? Thought Rock 5. I am big enough for both of them, and more. Yet they battle when there is no need. As he watched them circling each other, locked in combat, Rock 5 got to thinking about his situation under the tree. How he would have felt if another rock had landed beside him. They would not have fought, for this was not the rock way. He was honest though with himself, realizing he would not have been happy either, even though there was plenty of room under the tree for many rocks. Now he felt really alone, and would have been glad of the company of another rock. The crab fight finished. One crab scuttled in its funny, angular walk away from Rock 5. The other headed underneath Rock 5. Suddenly there was a whoosh of water as a gull plunged into the water exactly where the shoal of small fish were. The gull's beak opened and closed quickly on one of the fish. It all happened in one fluid moment, the gull never breaking speed from entering the water to leaving it. Without warning, other gulls plunged into the water in exactly the same way with the same success. Rock 5 couldn't believe it. I never knew life could be so interesting, he said to himself. I am still alone, but there is so much to see here, and I am important to the crab. I protect him. Maybe he thinks I am a god. Well, it doesn't matter. I like it here. As he started to feel comfortable, a large current caught him and swept him much further out to sea. Rock 5 was not happy now. This was getting too much. As he settled once again on the seabed, he noticed it was much darker here. There were again small shoals of fish swimming about him. Some stopped and nibbled at him, which he found quite pleasant. Now what? He thought, as all the little fish started to swarm about in panic. As he was aware of the small fish panicking, so he became suddenly aware of something much, much larger. He could feel the vibration in the water as an enormous shadow appeared. There was a mouth like a cavern, which was scooping up all the small fish, and it was heading towards him. Rock 5 felt himself being scooped up with the fish, sand and water. He couldn't believe it. Rock 5 was swept along inside this enormous creature. There was an amazing feeling of speed as he hurtled along with everything else which had been swallowed with him. There was no light now, all was darkness, as everything settled for a short period, then everything moved again. Rock 5 found now everything was being separated. He didn't know how. What he did know was the fish were gone. In the darkness, he heard a voice. Any other rocks here? Rock 5 was so happy now to have company. He couldn't see the other rock, but just knowing he wasn't alone was a major relief. Hello there, Rock 5 shouted into the darkness, trying to sound friendly. This was a new experience for him. Because it was total darkness, the sound of his voice seemed magnified, and he realized he was much more aware of how his voice sounded now. He couldn't see anything. The voice shouted back, Nice to meet you. Sorry I can't see you. You'll probably only be here for a short while, the voice continued. Who are you? Where are you from? Rock 5, although he was enjoying himself, felt nervous. He had never really taken the time to talk to another rock properly, never mind discuss himself. Nevertheless, in light of his new adventure, he found his courage and told his story, missing nothing out. The voice was very appreciative of the story. He apologized to Rock 5. I am sorry for asking for your story so quickly. However, I have been here a long time. What rocks have been here come and go quickly. It is the only break in the darkness for me when I hear other stories. What happens? How do they get out and you don't? Asked Rock 5. In a little while there will be more water coming through and you will be swept away like the others. Where to, I don't know, said the voice. As for me, I am stuck here. I feel the water rushing past me, but I cannot move. Rock 5 felt very sympathetic towards the voice. Why don't you tell me your story, or at least what you can, until the next rush of water, when hopefully I will be carried away? There was a brief silence as the voice prepared to tell his story. You have to understand, he began. I have not told my entire story before, because normally my listeners are swept away. I really do not have much of a story, as I have been in here a long time. Really, I am a land rock. I used to be in a mountain surrounded by friends. We had an idyllic life, and blessed with wonderful stories from the rocks who passed downwards. We knew it would never happen to us because we were surrounded by large protected rocks which kept us all safe. The passing rocks normally started their journey further up the mountain, and when the high wind or rains arrived, they would start rolling down the mountain, coming to rest against their protectors. They would be there until the strong winds or rains came again and they left us. To be fair, most of them wanted to join us, but it wasn't practical. We really didn't want anyone to join us, especially because they were mostly different colours and shapes. Because of our protectors and their position, they couldn't get into our inner circle. I realise now how selfish we were. How long ago was this? Asked Rock 5. Whenever it was, trust me, it was a lifetime ago, said the voice. One day there was an almighty storm which created enormous amounts of water to run down the mountain, causing everything I held dear to be swept away. Our protectors, my friends, and I were all swept into the sea. I was caught up in a veritable torrent which swept me very deep. So far from everyone, there was no one I recognised. For the first time ever, I was on my own. There was dirt and sand all around. I could see nothing, and I assumed I was buried deep under the earth. I remained there for an eternity, or so it seemed, until there was another disturbance way underneath me which threw everything to the surface. I saw light again, but only briefly, because I sank to the bottom again. This time, however, there was some light which filtered down. I had not spoken to another rock since I had left the mountain. Then shortly afterwards, I was swallowed by this creature. Because of what came out of the earth with me caused me to be stuck here, and this is where I have been since, occasionally talking to other rocks who pass through. Here in the dark there are no different colours or shapes to be seen. I hear a voice, friendly or otherwise, but I am still glad to hear it nevertheless. I realise now how silly we were before. Rock 5 had listened intently to the voice's story, thinking to himself, here was a rock that had friends always, desired to remain with his friends, and now has no one. I have to say though, continued the voice, thinking about it, I could easily have become distressed and angry, but what would this have achieved? I have learned so much and believe myself to be most fortunate that I am where I am. At least here I am a part of something which provides me with occasional company. I hear the sea outside. I know one day when this creature eventually dies, as they do, the body will eventually disappear, and I will be free again. This was too much for Rock 5. He too realized his life had changed so much for the better. Listening to the voice, he realized whilst the voice may be a prisoner to his circumstances, he was free in his mind. While he, Rock 5, had been free in his circumstances, but very much a prisoner in his mind. He resolved there and then he, Rock 5, would never be a prisoner in his mind again, and he could not only make a difference in his life, but with some luck he would make a difference in the voice's life too. Just then another flood of water came through, catching Rock 5 and carrying him along. Rock 5 was prepared, however, and managed to angle his body when the water caught him. This drove him towards where the voice had come from. So strongly he drove into the voice with a sharp bang. Such was the strength of the water, they were both carried out now through the creature to the outside world. As they shot out of the creature, they sunk to the bottom. Both sat silently for a few moments, thanking in silent prayer that the creature had raised disposal, and they had been a part of it. As they became aware of their surroundings, they could see that whilst they were deep, the light shone brightly down from the sky. The water was clear with many shoals of fish. Rock 5 could now see the voice, who was slightly larger than himself. There was a mark where they had collided. The voice, as Rock 5 thought of him, spoke with a voice now filled with emotion. You freed me, knowing both of us could have been stuck inside the creature, or I could have been swept away, leaving you there to the existence I had. Why? Rock 5 laughed a great laugh, a laugh which was filled with joy. I have found only recently my life has such potential, wherever I am, and in whatever circumstances I find myself, much as you said to me. What had I to lose? Nothing, for wherever I am, I will have the freedom to enjoy myself. If I had to remain there with you, I would have had great company. If I had been left alone, well, I would have time to contemplate what a lucky rock I was, having learned what I learned, having met you, and waiting for my next adventure, either in or out of the creature. The voice again paused while he tried to get the words he wanted, the words which would express how he felt. When I was on the mountain, we excluded everyone who was not part of our group, and I now find someone who was prepared to sacrifice themselves for me. Someone who had only met me, hardly knew me. Rock 5 took his time too with his reply, wanting to say what he felt. I have felt such joy in my newfound freedom, it could not be taken from me wherever I am. I knew talking to you that you too were free. Now you are free outside too. Enjoy it whilst it is here. I was trapped by myself, believing the shelter I had was godlike. Now I realise there are much greater things I don't know about, but I truly feel the connection with the greatness which is in everything. A wave came sweeping Rock 5 away. The voice remained, and Rock 5 went on to his next adventure. The voice smiled and enjoyed the moment, knowing his new friend was happy. With the sensation of a very happy voice in your mind, you feel yourself being gently pulled back to the beach. The scene in which you return to is different from your last visit. The you, which was under the palm tree, is no longer there, and the three rocks sit in silence on the beach. You are not aware of time and how much has passed since you left the palm tree. Thank you for joining me for part 4. I do hope you will return for part 5.